The year was 1975, Tokyo, a city of endless motion. An airport filled with dreams, passengers gathered. They were headed for Paris, the city of lights, of love, of fine food. Anticipation hung heavy, like the humid summer air. A long flight awaited them, a journey across continents. What could possibly go wrong? They clutched their tickets, their passports, their hopes for a grand adventure. Little did they know, their journey would become a legend, for all the wrong reasons. The giant jet waited, a Boeing 747, a marvel of engineering, ready to slice through the sky. 20 hours, that was the sentence, 20 long hours. From the neon glow of Tokyo to the romantic streets of Paris. Passengers settled in, found their seats, stowed their bags. The engines roared to life, a gentle push back. Then, the surge of power, take off. Below, Tokyo shrank, above, only blue. Or so they thought. The cabin was a world of its own, a temporary home, floating miles above the earth. Hours passed, movies flickered, drinks were served, sleep was attempted. Then the smell of breakfast, ham omelets, a seemingly harmless meal, served on plastic trays, with little plastic cutlery. It was meant to be a comfort, a taste of normalcy. Before landing in a foreign land, innocent yellow folds of egg, pinkish ham peeking out, passengers weary from the long haul. Many were grateful for the hot food they ate, unaware, oblivious, to the tiny invisible threat in the airline kitchen, miles away, hours before. The meal was born, cooked by a chef, just doing his job, or so it seemed. The ham, the eggs, mixed, prepared. But something went wrong, terribly wrong, in the preparation, in the storage. The food sat, waiting, not in a fridge, not kept cold, but out, in the warmth, a breeding ground for microscopic monsters, a ticking time bomb, loaded onto the plane, ready to be served. The announcement came. 30 minutes to landing. Paris. Finally. Passengers stirred, stretched their legs. Anticipation returned. Suitcases were checked. Forms filled out. The dream was close. So very close. Then it began. A sudden queasiness. A churning stomach. One passenger felt it first. A cold sweat. A desperate need. For a bathroom. He wasn't alone. Not for long. This was no ordinary landing sickness. This was something else, something sinister. It spread, like wildfire, through the cabin, person after person, gripped by nausea. Then the vomiting started, uncontrollable, violent, stomach cramps doubled people over. Diarrhea followed, swift, merciless. The scene turned ugly, fast, the dream of Paris, replaced by a living nightmare, 196 passengers. And the crew, few were spared. The carefully ordered world of the airplane descended into pure, unadulterated chaos. At 30,000 feet, the cabin crew, they were heroes, or tried to be, but they were overwhelmed. Outnumbered by the sick, the bathrooms, there were only a few. Lines formed, desperate lines, people couldn't wait. They were sick in the aisles, sick in their seats, the air filled with the sounds, the smells of human misery. Flight attendants, some ill themselves, rushed with sick bags, with water, with what little comfort they could offer, but it was never enough. Panic began to set in. The pilots, up in the cockpit, they heard the reports from the frantic crew. This was not just a few airsick passengers. This was a mass poisoning, an emergency. Paris was no longer the goal. Survival was. They had to get the plane on the ground, as fast as possible. They diverted, changed course, looking for the nearest suitable airport. Any airport. That could handle a sick bird, full of suffering souls. The descent was rapid, urgent, full of fear. The plane touched down. Not in Paris, its grand boulevards, its charming cafes, but at an auxiliary airport, in France, somewhere else. The landing was rough, but they were down, safe from the sky, but not from the sickness. As the doors opened, it wasn't the Parisian air they breathed, it was the smell of disinfectant, the sight of flashing lights, ambulances, stretchers, medical personnel in white coats, a grim reception committee, waiting on the tarmac. The sick were helped off the plane. Some walked, stumbling, weak. Others were carried. Their Parisian holiday, now a medical emergency. Language became a wall. The local doctors, French, the passengers, many Japanese, English spoken. But in the haze of sickness, communication was a struggle. Pain, nausea. These things need no translation, but details, symptoms, medical histories. Lost in the confusion, fear mixed with the physical agony. What was happening to them? The investigation started immediately. This was serious. A major public health scare. Authorities swarmed the aircraft. It was a crime scene, of sorts. They took samples from everything. The food, the water, the vomit. They interviewed the crew, those who could speak. They needed to find the source, the cause of this mass affliction. How could a routine flight, a routine meal, go so horribly wrong? The questions hung heavy as the illness that gripped the passengers. The focus quickly turned to the ham omelets, the breakfast. Most of the sick had eaten it. Those who hadn't mostly felt fine. The evidence mounted against that innocent-looking breakfast. Investigators worked meticulously, tracing the food back to its origin, back to the airline kitchen. In Tokyo, every detail was scrutinized, every step of the preparation. They were hunting for an invisible killer, a microbial culprit that had turned a flight of dreams into a journey of despair. The lab results came back, clear, undeniable. The villain had a name, Staphylococcus aureus, a nasty bacterium. It produces toxins that wreak havoc on the human gut. It was found in the ham, used in the omelets. It was also found in the potato salad, served alongside. The source of the widespread, violent illness was confirmed. No doubt about it. Science had pointed its finger directly at the food. The meal served hours ago. The trail led back to one man, the cook, the one who prepared the ham. In Tokyo, he had an infection, small lesions, blisters, on the fingers of his right hand and on his left middle finger, Staphylococcus, living right there, on his skin. He had touched the ham after it was cooked, contaminating it. A simple act with devastating consequences. Poor hygiene, a moment of carelessness or ignorance, had poisoned nearly 150 people. A chilling thought. But it wasn't just the cook. The food storage. That was another crime. The contaminated ham and the potato salad. They were left out, at room temperature, in the Tokyo kitchen, for 6 hours, then stored on the plane. Again, not properly chilled. For another 14.5 hours before being served. Plenty of time for the bacteria to multiply, to produce their poison. It was a perfect storm of human error and neglect. 144 people paid the price. So, what's the lesson here? Airline food. It's a roll of the dice, always has been, always will be. This 1975 flight, it's an extreme example, a horror story, but it's a reminder. Food safety isn't a joke, it's serious business, especially when you're trapped in a metal tube, miles above the earth. Think about it. Next time you're offered that tray, maybe pack a sandwich, just in case. Some lessons are learned the hard way, for those 144 souls.